Happy Tuesday. Happy Middle-earth Tuesday. It is now time for another weekly edition, although you would probably more accurately call this the light, low-calorie version of Torn Tuesday. Welcome to theonering.net. So good to have you here. This is the website created by and for the fans of J.R.R. Tolkien, all fans of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and The Silmarillion, and everyone who's trying to get an insight. And I'm going to do this to insight. I'm going to remind you we have some insights into Amazon Studios' forthcoming production of Second Age of Middle-earth series. We have some gossip. We have some insights. We have lots of things to talk about. And this is an open format show where your host, myself, Clifford Broadway, that's me. Welcome. I'm just here with Justin. I can hear Justin in the background doing something else. I don't know what he's doing, but he's in the control room. I'm on my own, flying solo. Welcome to the show. I can see myself simulcasting on my high-def television over here, and I think I have pulled up a chair with appropriately good Danish Hobbit cookies. So I've got the butter cookies, I've got the refreshments, the beverages, I've got the hand sanitizer, just in case I need to wash my dirty paws. And so, just in case my sticky paws, touch any orc helmets in Uncle Bilbo's chest or stuff I'm not supposed to be playing with, at least I have a chance to clean my sticky paws. So we're going to make references to the existing Peter Jackson films. When we talk about the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit films, we have a visual library of cinema and arguably some of Andrew Lesnie's greatest work as a cinematographer. May he rest in peace. And we have a body of artistic vision that is either helping Amazon Studios get into the direction of what kind of a look, what kind of a style they want the show to have, or it's a hindrance. We don't know if it's helping the art team and the craftspeople and the artists and the writers. We don't know if it's standing in the way. Are they always going to be standing in the shadow of what Peter Jackson has created with his 6 Middle-earth films? Or are they going to be able to break away from that and make their own thing? We'll see. We will see. This is going to be very interesting. The conversation is now open. We're talking on Twitter Live, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. I believe we're streaming on all these platforms. And I'm going to say hello, everybody. It's good to see you all live in the chat. There's a lot of folks chatting with us. Hey, good to see you guys. I can see you on YouTube. Seriously, we need to understand that the appetite for Tolkien always was best expressed in book sales. It always starts there. Okay, you begin at the beginning, you go on till you come to the end, and then stop, in the words of Lewis Carroll. So you begin with the books, publishing world of Tolkien, and keep in mind that you would not have a science fiction section in your bookstores. You would not have the fantasy retail section marked off in order to find your fantasy. You wouldn't have that if it weren't for Professor Tolkien wildly popularizing, along with other writers in the Inklings, in the 1930s. And, The Hobbit became something, The Lord of the Rings became something else. So it starts in the publishing world. And even when the movies come out, even when there's an animated film in the 70s, what happens? Take a look at book sales. They wildly jump. Of course, you know what I'm getting to. The 300-pound gorilla in the room is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings series, which won mountains of Oscars. And then The Return of the King had a freaking clean sweep, an unbelievable 11 out of 11 Academy Awards. And then book sales for the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit and the Silmarillion, crazy. So the phenomenon goes crazy, even when there's a pop culture reference in, the video games come out or some new movies comes out. It's still the book sales that benefit from that. So I'm always pleased to get back to that as the basic of this all. Okay, now we go to how the Lord of the Rings strikes us in popular culture and has resonated in popular culture for decades, for generations. Our response in terms of pop culture, our response has been pretty amazing. And, I covered that subject in great detail in the documentary that I wrote and produced, narrated by Dominic Monaghan, Ringers Lord of the Fans. There it is. Now, you can get more information about Ringers Lord of the Fans soon. We have big news coming out soon about that. But I'm never at a loss of fascination, never at a loss of deep, granular fascination at how people respond to Tolkien. And if that is not on their minds at Amazon Studios, the basics, the real basics, like the bare bones of it. I mean, we are not fans of Tolkien because of Peter Jackson. Okay? Do you hear us on that? I'm going to talk to our lovely friends at Amazon Studios as loudly and clearly as I can. Hashtag Fidelity to Tolkien means something to us because, we love the Shadow of War, video games, the Shadow of Mordor. Love these wild cinematic excursions that Peter Jackson has given us. Obviously, we live in a world where we just worship Howard Shore. You can complain all you want about the difficulties you have with the adaptation and what happened with the adaptation of the Hobbit films and what happened has been discussed by people over and over on the internet. I'm not going to repeat all that here. I will just say that we worship Howard Shore. We love, as a fandom, we love relating to Tolkien in different ways, creatively and intellectually, sometimes politically, with, very awkward and sometimes unnecessary outcomes, really unnecessary. But we're engaged in this because it's a legacy of literature, and it's about the literature. It's about our connection to the people in these stories. It's our connection to the languages in these stories. It's our connection to the geography, the land, the trees, the way that Tolkien gets us into that world. So the producers at Amazon, have to be aware, and there's no subtlety. There is no subtlety to this conversation, I'm afraid, to say that our interests are in what Tolkien had created, and we celebrate it all the time. I mean, we have the Happy Hobbit girls, and, the Rice sisters who are on our channels at thewondering.net who do Happy Hobbit videos to show how to live in a rich farmland and make your own vegetable soup and make your own muffins and take care of goats and horses. And it's like, we are talking about agrarian, rural Hobbit interests that are endlessly fascinating to us, even as much as we like to talk about the linguistic efforts and the scholarly work behind Tolkien's secondary world, which is also academically interesting to us. That's why they have the Tolkien Society, which has been a masterful, I would say, like, the foundational, great center, the intellectual center of all discussion comes from them, from the Tolkien Society. And different branches have opened up across the globe in different places. It's cross-cultural, it's cross-linguistic, our attention to Tolkien. It's across all of these different strata. And we need to see that reflected in our next version of Lord of the Rings in the second age. We need to have the television show that Amazon makes for us speak to us on those levels of different intellect and on all of our different levels of creativity. And people, not, it's like the Dungeons and Dragons phenomenon started from there, from Tolkien. And, and so did the connections to rock and roll music. So many musicians and songwriters going down the path of creativity with Middle Earth as their tapestry. It's affected so many people in so many ways. So it's like you can't take out all the poetry and music. That has to be in there. The poetry and the songs and that lyrical quality. I mean, even the smart thing about the producers of The Witcher is that they added a bard, a songsmith, as a lead character. And we ended up with one of the greatest tracks, questionable sometimes where The Witcher went about halfway wrong here and there in terms of narrative, but that's okay. We got somebody who was singing and using singing the way that they do in Middle Earth to tell it's storytelling. So, you can hate on The Hobbit all you want, but when you get to the extended edition and there's dwarves singing and, there's Biffer in the extended version in Rivendell, there's Biffer adopting a moment where he does Frodo Baggins' song from the Fellowship of the Ring. Like in the book, it's actually Frodo who has that song. And we've got Biffer who's singing. This is all those little levels that Peter Jackson bothered to do by getting different cultures of dwarves and elves and men of Middle Earth distinct with their architecture and weapons and clothing and everything about it was super layered, very thoughtful. We got people singing, even that moment in the coronation of King Elisar, when Vigo stops everything with just a moment, a wisp of melody, a moment of song. And it breaks people's hearts, it uplifts their spirit. It's in there. So, the stuff that was successful, those things connected the Peter Jackson efforts to us because of fidelity to Tolkien. There was reasonable fidelity to Tolkien and a celebration of Tolkien and his spirit. So, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for as fans in our upcoming Amazon series. I would like to open up this conversation to some of our chatters, and I'm going to check in now. Now that I'm done with that opening monologue. I'm sorry I sound like Joe Scarborough in the morning, where I talk for 20 minutes before letting anybody else talk. I'm sorry, but yeah, okay. This is the afternoon Clifford. That's what it is. Here we go. Edwin Droog in the YouTube chat says, I don't hate on the Hobbit films. I view them as a warm-up act. Yeah, I do need new glasses. You go, have a laugh at my expense. That's fine. I'm getting new bifocals next week, so Grandpa can read. Okay. Okay. By the way, Edwin Droog says, yeah, a warm-up act to Lord of the Rings, and that's why I view all that extra Christopher Lee stuff and all the extra Saruman and the White Council in the Hobbit films. I think that is tremendously successful as a warm-up act for what you see in the Fellowship of the Ring, especially when you get to that part with the treason of Isengard, which is very brief, sudden turn from he's an ally. Oh, no, he's not. He's not an ally. He's an enemy. Watch out, Gandalf. Wizard fight. Okay, it takes barely 6 minutes before, bam, it happens. So having the Hobbit films is an excellent warm-up to the larger context of Middle-earth storytelling that's going on there. That's very true. I appreciate that. It's true. I do pour bleach into my eyes as soon as Alfred appears. Yeah. Alfred and his unibrow. He's like that evil unibrow baby from The Simpsons. Maggie's nemesis. Yeah, that one. That's funny. Okay. I hope we get to see some great battles. Yes, Fausto. Yeah. They can battle the hell out of it now with the, you know, with the CGI that they've got. They can make a very small amount of people look like a much larger amount of people. And they've got the money. They have the bottomless budget of the Jeff Bezos insane budget. So yeah, we're going to see some great battles. That's for sure. That's easy to predict that. Yes. Yep. Yes, Sean. That's true. Alfred was, yeah. Alfred was Alfred. Best thing about The Hobbit is how it brought more of Tolkien's whimsy to the screen. Yes, Robert. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, actual dwarves singing and Bilbo reacting to other hobbits in the village. I loved all that. Yeah. Not the second and third Hobbit movies, but the first one, An Unexpected Journey, managed to have that golden hued fairy tale quality to it for a lot of it. Andrew says, "Don't feel bad, Cliff. I probably we need cohesion with the music," says Cecilia. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Very glad. What if they only borrow like a couple of themes? Like if you're watching Picard right now, you're like, oh, there's a Jerry Goldsmith theme, just a little bit of it. They only use it briefly for 10 seconds and then it's gone. But they have their own entire score, they have their own sound. But then every now and then they do the obvious and they reach back to the original Star Trek theme. Forgive me, I know the composer's name. From the original series in the 60s. And they always snatch in little bits of, that motif from Jerry Goldsmith from The Next Generation. So what if they do that in Lord of the Rings Second Age series? And we end up with all new music, and then every now and then they do a weird callback just to a Shire theme or One Ring theme. Every now and then they just grab something. That depends upon whether they make a liaison with Howard Shore, whether they actually talk to him, and if he's available. It depends upon many things. If he's busy, he's busy. If he's available and they come and they talk to him and they approach him appropriately, then yes, maybe we will get some bits of Howard Shore. I would prefer, I think maybe all of us, yes, maybe. I mean, I'm not the gatekeeper or nothing, but I do think that we would all love to have Howard Shore's music to the fullest. So just hire him, bring him, and let him do it. All of it. I don't know. I mean, look at the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, where they had this one musician who was also assisted by another composer for a bit of it. And he created 10 hours of the most insanely good fantasy music that we've ever heard in decades. And then there's like Gelfling singing at a funeral. Okay, what? It hasn't been that good since Thorin was leaning against the fireplace and the mantle and was singing, and Richard Armitage like flooded our hearts with the agony in the beauty of the Line of Durin. That was Richard Armitage doing that, but not since then. And now we see these little Gelflings singing a funeral song for the Almodra, and everybody in my house is crying. People are literally in tears. It's the most gorgeous. Okay, do that. We want that stuff. That is definitely the stuff we want. So yeah, bringing in Howard Shore to fully work out all these themes and do 10 hours of new themes that may or may not bring in subtleties from his previous, encyclopedia of leitmotifs, however you say it. Yeah, let's see where we go with that. I think the ultimate calling card, not just the visual look of the TV show, but Amazon needs to bring in Howard's music. It is the ultimate litmus test, I think, really, for how fans might react to it. It's like, do you want new subscribers, Amazon? Do you want to say, come here to Middle Earth? Come. We want to invite you to come to Middle Earth. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. Invite all of us to subscribe and go back to Middle Earth. Hey, do you like Middle Earth? You do. You love Middle Earth. You want to come back? Come with us. Come with us and we'll do some storytelling in Middle Earth. Subscribe to Amazon Prime. Come with us. We'll take you to the familiar. We will take you to the familiar place of Middle Earth that you love. But if it doesn't sound like Middle Earth and they don't use anything of Howard Shore at all, well, that's just going to make it a really tough sell. It's going to make it a much, much more difficult sell. Then again, we'll see what happens. Okay, back to our conversation here. Eric Z says, Cliff, I hope this Amazon series does what Clone Wars did for Star Wars movies, made them much richer and even the prequels more loved. Do you know, Eric Z, I love that. I'm with you. That's my optimistic place. That's where I live and breathe. All day, every day. That's the optimistic place where I want to be. I hope that it augments the world in a wonderful way, like the Clone Wars did. And that's one of my favorite things about looking back at the prequel series, you know, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and how I used to complain about them left and right. And then I get deep into my animated Clone Wars series, and it is the most satisfying stuff. It's juicy good. It's so good. And then I go back and look at Attack of the Clones again, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Palpatine's got some crazy stuff going on. And I get so much more Christopher Lee out of it. Thank you. The more Christopher Lee, the better. The more, the better. He got cheated out of his Oscar. He got cheated out of his SAG award. I mean, the Ensemble Award for Return of the King should have also gone to Christopher Lee. I'm still very pissed off all these years later that Christopher Lee did not get even Sean Bean, who is not in The Return of the King. Sean Bean has his name on a statue for a SAG award, but poor Sir Christopher did not. And I'm angry, still angry about that. But yeah, seriously. Indeed. Where do you think season 1 of the Amazon series will end? Sean, I think that the season 1 series will end with possibly the idea that Anatar shows up. I think that there might be a lot of world building and a lot of characters established without Anatar really showing up at all. He might be whispered about, maybe, and maybe when he shows up and shakes hands with Celebrimbor, I can imagine like this sudden, quick eclipse, bam, close to black at the end of season 1, when Celebrimbor and Anatar embrace hands, brother to brother, and Anatar says, "Let me show you how to make these rings." Boom. Close curtain. End credits. That might be a great way to end season 1. The introduction of the ultimate. Oh, we're going to make magic rings now. Either that, if they're going to go for making magic rings early in the season 1, and then have the Battle of Sauron and the Elves begin. I don't know how much money they're throwing at season 1 like this, because they're doing 2 episodes, and then all the rest are written. All the reporting that we have is that the writers have left New Zealand and they finished their job. All episodes have been written. We're dying to get more spy reports from our friends and anybody who's around New Zealand. We need spy reports. Please send them to us. I would expect. And now the Battle of the Elves and Sauron happens after many other big events, and that would include the completion of the forging of all the rings, and 3 extra ones being made in secret, and that might be deep into season 2. By the time we get into all that stuff, like, oh, they're making 3 more rings. Shh, Anatar doesn't know about what we're doing. All that stuff might be season 2. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, they don't need to remake. Oh no, you guys are talking about remaking The Hobbit? I don't think they will get. Sean Lay says, I don't think they will get Howard Shore. I think they will use his existing themes, get someone else for new ones. Hello, Oscar. Good to see you. Oscar, thank you. Agree. Yep. Daniel Pemberton, thank you. Yes, Daniel Pemberton scores just nuts. Just amazing. Amazing. Now, will they release everything at once like The Witcher, or will they release it weekly? Fausto has a great question. They're going to drop one episode a week like Game of Thrones. Just, that's my clear prediction. They are currently dropping one episode a week of, the new Star Trek Lower Decks, or, when it's not like Netflix where they drop all 10 in a row. They're going to do what HBO does. Like, here's an episode of Watchmen, or here's an episode of The Sopranos. Wait till next week for the next episode of The Watchmen, which was absolutely brilliant, by the way. Or whatever, yeah. They're going to tease people out because they want the subscriptions to continue month by month by month to keep people going. Yes. So, yeah. Yes, Andrew. Yeah, it's very easy to recognize James Horner's score almost anywhere. That's very true. Now, Anatar, the Last Ringmaker. The Last Ringmaker. That's a good one, Andrew. All right, so let's go now. The Repugnant Mama. Hello, welcome to the chat on YouTube. I have a question. Is there any text difference between the Lord of the Rings edition? Like between first and second editions? I know that the text got reset after the 50th anniversary edition. Excellent question. You know what? Yes, there's a running track record on somebody's website. I got to look it up for you. It's pretty wild, but the publishing history of the Lord of the Rings includes some significant revisions, and you can read more about this in Humphrey Carpenter's biography. You can learn more about it in the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien. But distinctly, there were problems in translations, and Tolkien found out about them, and he had to go back to work correcting some things. There was also, I believe, some additional work and some revisions that he made in the second edition of Lord of the Rings as well. But there was nothing comparable to doing the second edition of The Hobbit. Now, that was a work of glory, because the second edition of The Hobbit included a full rewrite of the Gollum character and the whole chapter Riddles in the Dark, to make the finding of the ring and the behaviors of the characters around each other and the ring to be more in alignment with Lord of the Rings. So yeah, second edition rewrite of The Hobbit was a full blown out, like, significant change. And that's why it's so hard to find like original 1937 first edition of The Hobbit is insanely difficult. It's just insane. You'll never find it. And if you do find it, you're going to pay 5 figures, like tens of thousands of dollars or more for it. I know it's crazy. But yeah, there was some. I'm gonna look this up, and perhaps I will share with the chat later on. We can share it on our Twitter. Please, while you're thinking about it, follow me on QuickBeam2000 on Instagram, Twitter. Follow us on the One Ring Net. Please give a like and subscribe to the One Ring Net right now. Thank you. Good housekeeping. We need that for our YouTube channel. Please like our videos, and we'll continue making some more interesting things in the near future. Wow. The edits that happened to the Lord of the Rings were not as significant as The Hobbit, but they're interesting. It's really worth looking at the historical connections. Tolkien was always trying to rewrite and scrub things out and rewrite, and he would scrub his stuff again. And poor Christopher Tolkien had like a devil of a time putting his father's manuscripts together and making sense of a Silmarillion that was, so many missing drafts and half-finished drafts and other stuff. And who could read his handwriting? I'm telling you, he was a miracle worker. Christopher Tolkien and his dedication to his father's work. We are the greatest beneficiaries of all of that. We can never thank him enough, ever. May he rest. We lost him this year. May he rest in peace. Yeah, Christopher Tolkien is like a miracle worker to be able to have figured out what his dad was trying to actually write and change with all his scribbles and changing things over again. Bless his heart. I mean, really, guys, think about that perspective. Cecilia says that Howard Shore's style is easy to recognize. People who saw movies for the first time always comment on the beauty. Yes, you know, when I hear Howard Shore elsewhere in like other Cronenberg movies, I stop and I go, "Whoa, okay, oh yeah, okay." I hear a little bit of that in there, but he's an incredibly versatile musician, really. And to think that he was the original, jazz ensemble studio uh, uh, musician on Saturday Night Live at the beginning of his television career. Imagine that. Who who knew that we would go and make a Middle Earth for us the way it musically sounds to us now? I mean, no one could ever guess that. Now let's see. Going back down here to Legolas being in the Hobbit somewhat makes sense. So you guys are still talking about the Hobbit stuff. Okay, Eric Z says, Cliff, do you think the Amazon series treating Anatar and Sauron how Lucas handled Palpatine and Sidious? They have to. They probably have to make that Anatar Sauron thing look like, you know, good guy, Senator Palpatine. You know, he's from Naboo. He's likable. He's an effective senator. He's quite the effective person in the political workings of the Republic, and he's an ally to Amidala. So, yeah, he's cool. Uh-oh, he's not cool. It's all fake. He's lying. Uh-oh, he's really Anatar. I mean, he's really Sidious. He's not really Palpatine, he's Sidious. He's a student of, a Sith Lord. Uh-oh. Yeah, so yeah, I can clearly see that they might analogize that relationship, Anatar, Sauron, as a mirror type. We'll see what they do with that. I can see that happening very easily. I don't know. I don't know if that's the wisest thing to do, but there's precedent. People will start to talk about it. It'll start conversation at least if they emphasize it that way. Now, Andrew says, I actually don't remember which version of Riddles in the Dark was excerpted in our fourth grade reader. I think it was the rewrite, but I can't be sure. It must have been. Yeah, all that stuff was excerpted in my textbooks when I was in grade school. It was the later version because it matched my Valentine Books paperback edition as well. So, yes. Okay, now, I'm sorry, I'm not in the Facebook chat. I love you guys on Facebook chat, and maybe if I open up another screen, I can say hi to you. Hi, everybody. But I'm over here in the YouTube chatters right now for the moment. I love a first stage series. Hello, Spartan 343. Imagine and Caligon the Black. Yes. Imagine and Caligon the Black. Imagine Feanor. I mean, imagine the moment where Feanor is birthed and his mom dies tragically. And it's like there's this fire in this baby's eyes, like a little baby Feanor. Fire in his eyes, like he's like a demon elf. And then imagine quick cut to him capturing the light of the two trees. Oh, God, I want that so bad. I'm with you. But they do not have the licensing for that. From what we know, they don't have Silmarillion. And we have been speculating quite a lot that they might have only access to the Akalabeth. That is the next to last section in the Silmarillion, where the Akalabeth tells of the downfall of Numenor. So if they did license anything, it's going to be that. If they did. So we'll see about that. If you listen to the score, Gangs of New York, yep. Oh, I noticed. Yeah, when I was listening to Gangs of New York, and I immediately thought, oh, yeah, I heard Howard Shore, Lord of the Rings, all over that. I sure did. I wonder how far they will go if they do sacrifices at Morgoth's temple. Back to you, Spartan 343. You might as well Skype into the show next week and talk with us, man. Man or whoever. The thing is, yeah, they're going to go for that because Game of Thrones made it popular for high fantasy to be hyper violent. And I mean hyper violent to the point of ghoulish violence. The Game of Thrones is mercilessly, ghoulishly violent, sometimes unnecessarily so. who wants to get their eyes squished out by the mountain? Not me. But if they do that in the Amazon Second Age series, because it's been popularized now, and because it is true to Tolkien, 100% true Tolkien, and if they take us to the point where, the end of season 1 is the battle of elves and Sauron, and if the Numenorians come and interfere, like they do, and they take Sauron captive, maybe that's the end of season 1, where they take Sauron captive. It might be just as likely that they introduce the character in some breathtaking cliffhanger at the end of season 1. Here you go. Hi, I'm Anatar. Hey, buddy. Nice to meet you. Avon calling. Let's make some rings. They might do that. But I have to say that I'm intrigued by this possibility that the hyperviolence and the human sacrifices and the devil worship, or the Sauron worship, is going to happen in Numenor. Numenor goes from the highest of the high to the lowest of the lows, metaphysically speaking. Okay, let's get back to fidelity to Tolkien. It's not about trying to gross out the audience, although they can get away with that now. They can totally get away with grossing us out with the hyperviolence. But it's also true to Tolkien that the men of Numenor got to that bonkers level of Morgoth worship. Sauron up there at the top of a stone pyramid, an ancient Mayan civilization, pulling the heart out of him's chest, let go down the mouse eye in Numenor. Yeah, they can go there if they want to go there. They can do totally Clive Barker gross out stuff if they want. Because, I hate to say it, not only are they standing in the shadow of 6 Middle-earth films that Peter Jackson made and all those Oscars, they're also in the shadow of all those Emmys that were won by Game of Thrones. So they're in the shadow of that as well. And they're trying to, get lightning in the bottle again, like Game of Thrones was for HBO. So you can expect weird parallels to come up like that, yes. So, and Fausto says, apparently we finally have a big actress in the series. Yeah, that's right. We have this Arwen's mother was cast? Yes, Calabrian. Yeah, we did break the news. We've been talking about that on our Twitter feed. Yes, Arwen's mother has been cast. And hello, Repugnant Mama, again, thank you for the information. I follow and subscribe. Love your channel, and rest in peace, Christopher Tolkien. You're the best. Thank you. Jocelyn Carter, the studio, actually made Peter Jackson do 3 films. He only wanted 2. Oh yeah, you guys are still talking about the differences in the Hobbit trilogy. Yeah, it was going to be 2 films, and then it became 3, as we know. Now, we don't know who Kaya Scodelario, let me say it wrong. Can I please say it wrong about 5 times before I get to say it right? Can I? Let me say it wrong. I gotta learn. I have to learn. Okay. I'm just a guy trying to learn and not do stupid things. Okay. Kaya Scodelario. Oh, okay. Kaya Scodelario. No, I would assume that she's going to be married to Elrond, and we're going to be dealing with Elrond before his twin sons are born, before, maybe, yes, certainly, before Rivendell is even a settlement. Maybe Rivendell has not been founded yet at this point in the Second Age. So yeah, that might be really interesting. Hey, elf wife, come with me. Let's go build Rivendell and make babies. Do I sound like Z Frank? Hey, elf maid, come with me. We will settle the land and make babies. Yeah, they're going to do all kinds of stuff with these characters. We don't know what exactly, but it's going to be interesting. Okay, they have a lot of room. They have a lot of narrative room, and it is intriguing to see these characters, these actors and actresses, look distinctly like their counterparts in the Peter Jackson films. I mean, look at how Will Poulter was like the perfect casting to be Hugo Weaving. Will Poulter was perfect casting, and then he had to leave the show. Yes, absolutely, Spartan. You guys, we have an open window policy, open door policy. You guys can come and talk on the show anytime with us, anytime. Calabrian. Margaret says, I hope they don't make LOTR unnecessarily violent. The LOTR movies did a good job of showing everything without it being too much. Yes, Calabrian. Hold on now, Margaret. Yeah, I agree with you. You know what I want to say beyond that? Especially because Brian Cogman has gotten involved over at Amazon Studios after working so much on Game of Thrones. I gotta say, I do not want my Middle Earth series to be like sexual. I don't want it to be sexual or rapey at all. At all. Had enough of that. Nobody wants that. I mean, there's not like, a Zack Snyder scene where, people take their clothes off and get it on in slow motion. That's not our Middle Earth. So don't do that. And please don't get all rapey and weird. Don't get all uncomfortable and weird with that. I mean, The Witcher succeeded in, having the sexuality of the show being very playful and fun. And like every ounce of the sexuality in The Witcher is driven by women and female characters. They're in complete control of that sexual energy. That was refreshing. I'll give The Witcher a little bit more credit because, they had sexuality done in a very wink, wink, playful way. And it wasn't the opposite of Game of Thrones, where sexual expression is always oppressive. It's just oppressive and violent. And, you had a little bit of romance with Jon Snow and that beautiful, wilding woman north of the wall who famously said, "You know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing." Yeah, but no, please don't. We don't want our Lord of the Rings or Second Age universe to be weird like GOT. Please don't. Just don't. All right, thanks. Thanks for listening to that. So we're in agreement, Margaret. Totally. Yeah, and the Silmarillion is insanely violent. Yeah, Silmarillion is violent, especially what happens in Numenor. It's so nuts what happens in Numenor. It's nutty. So Middle Earth don't need to be hyper-violent, says Oscar. Tolkien violence was much more about the spirit than the body. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. There's something to be considered on that level, that there's a lot of violence in Tolkien storytelling, which is related to other things, not just violence for the sake of violence. But yes. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Yeah, it's possible to imply things. Hello, Eravandi. Lovely to see you. It's always possible to imply things without having to get all R-rated. Yeah, they can get clever. They can show silhouettes behind curtains, whatever. They totally can. Yeah, thank you, Sean. We agree. We all agree on that. That's nice. Princess Toy Nerd, excellent to have you here. Welcome to the show. To be honest, I have to blame GOT for making me desensitized to the sex scenes. Yeah, I know. They turned it into like playful pastime, instead of like, I don't know. It has to be part of the storytelling. Really. Hello, Luke Shelton. Lovely to have you here on the show. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Dr. Luke Shelton. Right there. Say hi to Luke Shelton. He's awesome. They only consider GOT when deciding about violence. Will they also factor in the extended editions of The Hobbit, which had more violence than the theatrical editions, and not as positive reception? Luke, yes. I jokingly joke about the R rating of The Hobbit because it's kind of stupid, kind of insane that a gentle children's story from 1937 should get an R rating. But yes, the extended version of The Hobbit goes into, Peter Jackson overboard. I mean, this is the guy who, picked up a lawnmower and had all the zombies come in and get chopped up into blended splatter across the interior of the house. Dead alive. Remember that? I mean, come, that's Peter. That's why he is Peter Jackson. He made Meet the Feebles and all that stuff too. So it's, so we're going to get what we're going to get with him being indulgent. He had the chance to be a little more self-indulgent, and he was like, what the hell? It's the 6th film. It's the last time I'm doing this. Might as well squish some dwarven rams and chop up some legs off of some orcs. It's just bloody. I know. It's funny, but whatever. We might as well shoot Alfred in a catapult right up inside a troll's gob. Right up in his gob. It's just okay. So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Let's move on from The Hobbit and let's talk about what Amazon thinks they can get away with. People are going to be expecting this to have the it might be unreasonable for me to say this, and I don't want to project anything, but maybe the mass commercial audience is going to expect a Game of Thrones flavor with this show, with the Second Age of Middle-earth. So, yes, we'll see how violent they go. And I approve. I'm going to say from the beginning, right from the outset. I wish to say I am strongly supportive of the human sacrifice and the stuff in Numenor going dark. I'm fine with that. Let the Numenorian stuff go like Stephen King, dark and disturbing. Fine, that's fine. Because you want to see what Sauron is capable of in corrupting the hearts of men. You want to see why there would be such a reason for the faithful to go back to Valinor and ask for their help. And them coming to help actually means changing the world from flat to round, picking up all of Valinor and just and just skipping out of town beyond and taking it beyond the metaphysical veil of the physical world and the ultimate destruction of Atlantis / Numenor. Like, lightning from God's fingertips, the lightning bolts of Zeus from Olympus, destructo power. They better give a metaphysical reason for Sauron to take it as far as he goes, and for the men of Numenor to be as corrupted as far as they go. Set the Valar and Iluvatar and everybody involved in the metaphysical side of things would actually say, we're not going to tolerate that anymore. We're going to change the entire shape of the world. So to justify that kind of cataclysm, I think the darkness that Sauron brings to the Numenorians has to be cataclysmically dark, I think. Do you guys agree with that? You think? I don't know. I love talking about this stuff. I really do. Yes. Andrew says the evidence for Kaya Scodelario being cast in the show is circumstantial, but also pretty substantial. Yes, I'll agree with that. Yep. Yes, that's true. No. Jocelyn Carter, hello. Yes, LOTR has more of a spiritual and supernatural feeling to it. Yeah, there's something spiritual going on when Gandalf talks to Gimli and Legolas and Aragorn and explains what happened to him after he fought with the Balrog. He passed out of time. And then all of a sudden, Peter Jackson shows us spinning through the galaxies. Then we're in the mind's eye of Valinor. Pop, Gandalf the White wakes up and takes a breath, gasping on the mountaintop as he's just been reborn from this beyond the veil experience. And that's the closest to Valinor that we ever got. Literally. Peter Jackson never brought us closer to Valinor than in those moments of weird outer space metaphysics that he was doing. And we want to see Valinor, perhaps we'll be lucky and see some flashbacks or some stories where they show some of what it's like. Because ultimately it gets taken out of Arda and moved out of the world it's all changed by the end of it. And that might end up being like the end of season 2 or 3, maybe the end of season 3 with the destruction of Numenor. They can stretch that out for quite a while and make it go for several seasons if they're successful. We'll see. Hello, Nicholas. Welcome. Good to have you. Hey. All right, so let's go on down. I'm way behind the chat. Yes. Oh, Spartan says it was the void that we saw, I think, in that scene. Might be. Yes, it might be. Might have been. Andrew says Tolkien was having trouble resolving some of the discrepancies between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but the revision was also feeling like a much different book. Must be talking about some of those rewrites. Oh, getting text from, hey, there's my mom texting me. Hey, that's my mom texting me about the cat downstairs. That's cute. Only on a Lord of the Rings live stream would we get interrupted by my mom texting me about the cat downstairs, who coincidentally just had dental surgery and had all of his teeth removed. The poor guy, poor little cat. Now when he goes back to Queen Baruthiel, he can't really tell her anything with his spies, his spying reconnaissance missions. Now he won't be able to say anything when he goes back to visit Queen Baruthiel. Poor guy. That's so funny. Anyways, did Amazon commit to a certain number of seasons? Margaret, thank you. That is now the question of the hour. It's probably the big question that we have here at the end of our show, because it's now 6 o'clock. I know we started a few minutes late, but we have to end our show. At the end of it, we kind of wrap things up, and then we do Green Dragon gossip. We'll go over to the Green Dragon Inn. We'll have a pint. We'll have some gossip. We'll have some Danish cookies, delicious Danish cookies. But to answer your question, how many seasons did they commit to making? Originally, I think the press release said it was 5. I think originally there was a 5-season commitment. I know the internet can correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong about that. But then because of COVID-19 and the shutdown of production for several months, they may have changed that commitment and pushed it down from 5. And I heard rumors that they were only doing 2. In fact, we at theonering.net reported on those rumors months and months and months ago. I don't know if that is current. I really don't know if that's accurate anymore. But the last we heard, that was the 5-season commitment had been reduced to only 2 seasons. They may be testing the waters a little bit and see how well it goes before they push that licensing back up to another 5 seasons. We don't know. We'll have to see what they do out of the gate. We'll have to see how well we respond to the first couple of episodes. And believe me, we will all be here live on our show, talking, sharing about our interests in this. And I have to give a tip of the hat to, all the other YouTubers out there. There's a lot of YouTubers doing some outstanding lore videos, the lore of Middle-earth, the men of the West. You can check all those guys. I know you guys are probably watching their videos anyways. You can get lots of juicy details. They're really good. We will all be talking about it. I know Michael Martinez, a longtime Tolkien scholar, published Tolkien author, friend of the OneRing.net. Hello, Michael Martinez. And all of our good friends, Luke Shelton, and all the people we know at the Tolkien Society, Sean Gunner. We'll be taking a very hard look, and all of us, as a community, we will all be coming together to discuss this crazy stuff that they're doing. I'm a little bit scared. I have to admit, I'm more than a little bit anxious. I'm a little bit scared, but I'm also, willing to think, well, they've got enough money involved, and the license was expensive enough that they should honor the license. I mean, they don't want to dump bad money after bad money after bad money. They don't want to throw all that money away. They want to, they say when you're cooking spaghetti, You take a strand, you're throwing pasta at the wall. If it sticks, it's done. You know? It's like throwing pasta at the wall. If it sticks, it's done. It's cooked. It's not al dente anymore. It's good. So that's the methodology behind producing a $1 billion TV series. You're throwing a piece of pasta at the wall? No. There are so many other considerations, and I would like to think that they went to follow in the successful footsteps of HBO because it was, legitimizing to fantasy the way that Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies 20 years ago was legitimizing to fantasy. Both of those things had a massive effect on pop culture and on bringing, a broader, more commercial audience into that world of high fantasy and making them really love it and appreciate it. It expanded the fandom. There's a lot going on there, I think. But I will respectfully decline to say that they have to copy. They do not have to mirror or copy what Game of Thrones did in terms of energy, in terms of storytelling taste. They don't have to do that. But I'm probably correct in saying that some of the executives and the showrunners behind the scenes are probably feeling that those are big shoes to fill, and that those are shows. Maybe they think that they have to fill those shoes in order to get more Emmy nominations and Emmy wins and more success. Maybe they are. I hope it's not the driving force. I hope that is not the driving id of the psychology. That better not be. The driving id of your psychology of making this Lord of the Rings show should be one thing and one thing only: fidelity to Tolkien. I hope I said that clearly enough. Fidelity to Tolkien. That's what they should stick with, literally. I mean, really. Jocelyn says, I've got to get a copy of the Silmarillion. I may have one packed up somewhere. I have 3 copies. I had 3 copies, and my next door neighbors had a cute little library, like a mini library. Like it's a beautiful box that's painted and decorated, and you can take a book, leave a book. It's a trade-off. Community, a little library box. And so I took one of my extra copies of the Silmarillion and I put it there, and it was gone within a couple of days. And there was a lot of other Tolkien books that showed up there too. It was really cute. I really like my neighbors down there. They have a big garden, they're like hobbits. I swear to God, that's why I like my neighbors. I mean, I'm in the middle of busy Los Angeles, but they have a vegetable garden, and they have a big vegetable table where they offer baskets of fruits and zucchinis and sunflowers and peppers, and there's a little drop box underneath it with a hole. It says donate, and you can drop a couple of dollars for any of the fresh rosemary. Oh my God, they've got the best rosemary. Like, I roasted a turkey a couple of months ago with a whole bunch of rosemary that I got from their garden, and they're like the coolest neighbors. So I'm like, yeah, not only do they have a vegetable table that's, good faith, you can just take what you want and leave $1 or $2. But I was happy to leave my extra copy of the Silmarillion in their little library. It was like, you guys are good neighbors. Thanks for the veggies and the rosemary. So good. I know. It's like only on the OneRing.net do we end up talking about stuff like this. It's hilarious. Okay, we're almost out of time because this is our 1 hour mark. I do have to wrap this up, but I will say spin-offs. Spartan 343. What spin-offs? Give me a first aid show, damn it. Well, yeah, they might. Their licensing is so big for this property. They might do spin-off series. We don't know yet. And I could assume that it's not just one single monolithic TV series of the Second Age, but think of it more like a pyramid. And the capstone, certainly the capstone at the top, would be their Second Age series, but underneath that is a strata of other shows. There might be like an after show where they do an after each episode talk show, which might be something I'd love to do. And they might do other series. And then of that, there's other side things and other merchandise. And there's going to be lots and lots and lots of ancillary stuff. And there might even be an animated series that might be animated shorts or an anthology series that's animated shorts. We don't even know what they'll do next. So expect the unexpected, at least. So yes. Okay, and yes, thanks, Sean. This was an awesome discussion. Yep, this is the Torn Tuesday I know and love. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Very good. Thank you guys for joining us. It's really wonderful. Yep, I recommend. Andrew is correct. I also recommend to go into Appendix A. Lots of great things going on in Appendix A to see what other transitions in the narrative that they might take. Yeah, good stuff. Yep. And yes, the Tolkien estate does have veto power if they go too far astray. Yeah, that's the ultimate thing in the end. The Tolkien family can say, screw that. We don't want you doing that, so forget it. So we'll see about that. All right, so let's go. Let's go to the end of our show. This has been a great chat with all of you. Hello, Nicholas. It's great to see you. You're awesome, too. You guys are all awesome. Lovely to have you. You're the best audience. It's time for Green Dragon Inn. I'm going to close the show with a rumor. There's big rumors going around. We need to chew on this for a while, guys. What is Cameron Crowe doing in New Zealand? Why did Cameron Crowe, Gladiator, Oscar winner, A Beautiful Mind? I meant to say Russell Crowe. Oh, I'm so silly. Okay, not the director Cameron Crowe. That's silly of me. And I love Cameron Crowe. I love his movies. I've interviewed him in Ringers. My mistake. Let me dial that back. What is Oscar-winning actor Russell Crowe doing down in New Zealand with that bushy beard and that long hair, looking all Numenorian, like a king, like the Oscar-winning gladiatorial king that he is? What is Oscar-winning actor Russell Crowe doing down in New Zealand? Hush, hush. It's all on the QT and hush, hush. It's on the down low. But I'm telling you now, this rumor might take up a spark, and it might be the spark that lights the wildfire on a dry prairie across the lands. I've got a sneaking suspicion. Before we close the show, we really need to think about this, guys. And I'm going to tell Justin we're ready to close. Okay, we are done. Let's say goodnight, Gracie. We'll talk about this in the rumor box. What is Russell Crowe filming down in New Zealand? Why does he look so Numenorian with his beard and hair? My God. Okay, let's talk about this. Wouldn't it just be the perfect ultimate casting announcement to blow the world away and say, look who we've got. Not only do we have this beautiful, diverse, racially diverse cast of people, and not only do we have young Elrond and young Galadriel, speaking in, it's ridiculous. So funny. But do we have Russell Crowe coming as well? I'm going to leave the rumors at the bar at the Green Dragon Inn. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We can talk about this rumor all week. Maybe in between this week and next Tuesday, we can find out more details, okay? So to everybody I say, keep yourselves safe, wear your masks, keep yourselves apart, roll the windows down, get the fresh air, keep yourself safe and healthy, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Follow me, QuickBeam2000, Instagram and Twitter, and we are theonering.net. So you follow us at The One Ring Net on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and everybody else, YouTube. Lovely to have you guys. Hit subscribe. Please, I love you. Until next week, buenas noches y buena suerte. Good night and good luck.